This is the Tree of Life, Season 7, Chapter 6. In this episode, we will be talking about the relationship between affirmation and negation relative to direct ground. To start off, it is clear that in negation of one of the two reciprocal pairings of direct ground, an actor becomes spatial non-consensual, whilst also existing in a dissonant consensuality. However, what is also clear is that in that state, their awareness flows outward relative to their bodily rhythms, mapping the dissonant space by need. What is also clear is that the direct ground, which remains asymmetrical, is dialectical by antithesis, not relative to the self-referential impulse, but relative to its self-conscious, dialectical analog. In other words, self-conscious thesis and antithesis do not exist independently at all. Because the moment that one of the reciprocal direct grounds is negated, resulting in asymmetry, the impulse of the actor becomes concealed and self-referential by the actor's need. This also reveals something else. Namely, that spatial non-consensual actors, existing in dissonant spaces, are not just experiencing a dissociated event, they are incorporating that dissonant consensuality into the conjoined consensuality by virtue of the process described in the last two episodes. In effect, spatial non-consensual actors explore and map dissonant spaces for the conjoined consensuality. Second, this also reveals that the dialectical process of a priori thesis and antithesis is mediated by a self-referential impulse, according to a bodily rhythm. That is to say, that objective dialectical pairings by thesis and antithesis are preceded by a subjective state, which is self-referential. Finally, we can observe that the state of genetic synchronicity described earlier in these podcasts describes a highly disordered state of entropy characterized by linking of two divergent paths of affirmation into a single coupled complex. It is this coupling of divergent paths which produces the nonlinear intersections pursuant to emotional continuity and path parsimony, as well as the coupling we described in an earlier podcast linking the oxytocin-cortisol equilibrium of one actor to another. From this we can see that within the conjoined consensuality, or according to the perspective of the actor privy to the direct ground experience that was negated, nonlinearity is dialectical by an objective non-self-referential thesis and antithesis. Whereas, from the perspective of the symmetrical actor, nonlinearity is dialectical by need, that is, it is self-referential. The perspective that each actor takes stems from the origins of their state, i.e. archetypal consensual, self-conscious, or spatial non-consensual, concealed. That's the end of the podcast for today.